The franchise hot seat is for information and entertainment purposes and is not an offer to sell franchises. If the hot seat introduces you to a franchise concept that interests you, you must do your own due diligence before making an investment. Welcome to the Franchise Hot Seat. I'm your host, John Hayes, Director of the Franchise Center at Palm Beach Atlantic University. On today's episode of the Franchise Hot Seat, we feature a concept to be evaluated by our Dream Team. Let me introduce you to the Dream Team. CEO of United Franchise Group, Ray Titus. Managing Partner at Planet Fitness Midwest, John Clancy. MPK Equity Partners, Patrick McGee. President and co-owner of FranFund Incorporated, Sherri Seiber. First up in the hot seat.
A simple cup of coffee. Over 2 billion cups are consumed every single day.
80% of the coffee consumed in the U.S. is exploitation coffee, meaning somebody was exploited by the coffee we drink every morning. I started to wonder, what would it be like if people started to drink coffee that blessed the world?
At Land of 1,000 Hills, coffee is our passion, and we are dedicated to creating a beautiful cup. We believe in acting as a community.
Through community trade, we seek to allow the end customer, the person drinking the coffee, to create community with that farmer.
We do this by crafting beautiful coffee, creating purposeful work, and cultivating flourishing communities. When you drink a Land of 1,000 Hills cup of coffee, you are helping to create a flourishing community, both for farmers and families in Rwanda, as well as in your own home.
Land of 1,000 Hills partners with coffee-growing villages throughout the world.
In Rwanda, volcanic ash and soil combine to create the perfect conditions for coffee farming.
Those coffee cherries are then processed. Coffee is then sent down to the major city where it's milled, it's packaged, and it's exported into Roswell, Georgia.
We know the farmers we partner with by name. We pay an above fair trade wage and are committed to helping improve their lives and the lives of their families by creating purposeful work.
I remember last year, you promised us to return here contribute in sustainable development. Then you did.
By drinking a beautiful cup of coffee, you continue the cycle that allows coffee farmers, roasters, and baristas to continue their passionate craft.
Drink coffee do good means if you drink coffee from Land of 1,000 Hills, you drink coffee, but also you help the community who supplied that production.
The cycle continues, lifting one another up as the world becomes a happier, healthier, more friendly place. All of this from a single cup. Drink coffee. Do good.
Good evening, I'm Jonathan Golden with Land of 1,000 Hills Coffee Company. Our mission is to craft beautiful coffee, create purposeful work, and cultivate flourishing community. 16 years ago, I was an industrial psychologist, and I spent a lot of time coaching executives and CEOs to find their life's work. I spoke to a friend of mine who was a leader in Rwanda, and I said, John, how can we best help your country? And he said, prior to the genocide, they had excellent coffee. And I said, Bishop John, what if we could drink coffee, do good? A year later, I was on the side of a mountainside in Bukunya, Rwanda. I had Jean on one side, Clementine on the other, looking at the coffee washing station we built the previous year. And they shared with me their story. They grew up together. He was recruited by the Interahamwe and was one of the killing squads. He proceeded to kill her family and many others in the village. He went to prison. Well, in prison, he had an encounter with God. he was released and was presented what's called the Gakacha courts. It's courts in the grass. And there, if you confessed what you did to your fellow villagers and they agreed to forgive you, you'd be released from prison. He was released from prison. Three of us sat on the side of the mountain and they said, Jonathan, the government told us to reconcile, the church told us how to reconcile, but through our common work in coffee, we experienced reconciliation. At that point, my life's work took a whole new picture. 15 years later, we have 10,000 coffee farmers we work with who are all receiving a sustainable living wage, which is 5 times more than what they were getting. We've been fortunate enough to build schools, provide clean water for the village of Bwenda, orphan care, and most recently a health clinic on the shores of Lake Kivu, Rwanda, which has served 20,000 patients in the last 2 years. That's the community in Rwanda. Here in the United States, all of this is funded through coffee. We have 10 current units. We have another 10 in the pipeline. Total of 500,000 customers were served in the last 12 months with revenue at almost $5 million. Our unique opportunity here has come because there's 3 cultural trends that have come together. First of all, specialty coffee. Coffee is a $12 billion a year business. Specialty coffee is 12% of that, but it's growing at a 20% clip. We have some of the best coffee literally in the world. Secondly, social justice. Folks are, believe it or not, doing good is popular. Folks want to do good and make a difference. Third, and perhaps most important, is the need for community. Post-COVID, houses of worship are down 55 to 60%. Folks aren't going to work. People need community. People need connection. They need that great third place. We're able to do this, unlike most others, because we have a completely vertically integrated supply chain, or what I prefer to call a community of craftsmen. So picture a circle. You have Jean the farmer on this side. You have Alex, our roaster here in the U.S. that side. You have Zoe, our barista, sitting over here. We have a franchisee sitting there, and we're all contributing our purposeful work to develop this community. Literally every week I have a multifamily developer, a co-working operator, a mixed-use developer calling us saying, come, open up a coffee shop, open a coffee and social. We need community. I'd like to invite the 4 of you to consider becoming part of our community. What are our needs? We need financial and human resource development. As we grow, what's most important to me is we stay close to our mission and our quality of service. We need to figure out how are we going to grow this thing financially? How do we develop the people, design it? How do we develop the programs, and how do we deploy it to the franchisees so when a franchisee goes into a shop in Dallas, it's the same experience as when you're in Atlanta?
Wow.
So questions? Yeah.
Welcome to the franchise hot seat, and thank you for that comprehensive explanation about your brand.
Well, you're very welcome.
So, wow, a lot of humanitarian parts of what you're doing there. Is that a criteria for your franchisees, the humanitarian portion?
So 1% of all royalties goes back. So we have a nonprofit, the Do Good Initiative, and we have the for-profit. 1% of all royalties go back to the nonprofit, and that helps in part fund all of our work over in Rwanda. It's not a requirement. Show me your resume of how you've done good, but we typically only attract people that want that social mission. They want to drink coffee and do good in the process.
So the 1% is coming from you, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's part of the 5% royalty.
And first, what I have to say is major kudos to you for putting this whole thing together and really doing what you've done. I think you serve a greater purpose than just business here, but we're going to get into some of the economics and some of the business side of things here, but the franchisees, focusing on this side of the planet, the franchisees that you have, the 10 units, what do? They open up a coffee shop? Is that what you're...
So currently of our 11 units, we own 8. We have 3 that we've sold to franchisees. One is actually very creative. It's in Lynn, Massachusetts. It's owned by a church. They have 20,000 square foot of warehouse space, and they wanted to reach out to their community. Another is on what I'd call the High Street in Cypress, Texas. It's the high rent district. A third is in a smaller area. We have another going into Augusta that's in the pipeline with a drive-through.
Do you have a standard model of any kind? It sounds like it's all across the board here.
Yeah, so part of our uniqueness is we study the community, we study our mission, and that intersection is where that coffee house is going to be. I literally do what's called a story walk with each prospective space. Is I walk and I try to get a sense. Our units will likely never look alike. So our Roswell location is in an 1850s mill house. The Cypress, Texas location is on the boardwalk there, brand new development.
So is it right to say that your franchisees often have a motivation other than just a financial return?
Yes, I tell folks there are a lot easier ways to make a buck than opening a coffee shop. You have to be looking at that triple bottom line of, yes, I want to make money, I want to build community, and I'd like to be able to give back at the same time.
And so as the franchisor, I assume that you're also selling the coffee to the franchisees?
Yes, they're required to purchase the coffee from us, as well as syrups, cups, stirrers.
And is that product sales piece more important to you than the royalty piece, or how do you think about those?
So our first 3 units we agreed to do royalty free. So we have just a 4th unit now that's coming on board and paying the royalty. A lot of that will depend on the volume of the store.
Who do you consider your competitor for this? This is nothing like a Starbucks. Who's the closest competition?
That's a very good question, Sherri. The developers that are inviting us in, they want something more local. And even though we may not be local to that area, because we come in and we take the time, in one sense it could be a Starbucks competitor, but they don't adapt. They don't see what that end customer is into. I would say there are some other what I call third wave coffee companies out there that could be considered competitors.
Jonathan, can you give us an idea of what your unit economics? You have 10 open units, you have 10 in the system. Second part of the question is, of those 10, are they all franchisees or some of those corporately owned?
We have 3 franchisees, and we have a 4th one that has just started, and the remainder are our corporate stores owned by me. So I guess we could say that I am the franchisee and the owner at the same time. Our highest volume store does $1.2 million in revenue. We have smaller units that are in mixed use developments, multifamily development, where we are able to do percent revenue rent, and we're there to help activate, and they'll do $250,000 once they're stabilized. The goal for those units is $500,000 in revenue.
And what are the margins in the business?
So the franchisee, we tell everybody that the goal is to make between a 10 and 20% net profit. So if you have the 5% royalty, you're then looking at optimize at 15% net profit.
And you said you had 1 drive-through open. Is that your $1.2 million store?
Correct. Yeah. And what's interesting, when we look at that store, probably 40% of the revenue is drive-through. Our other stores, we have 3 other stores that meet that, and they just don't have that extra edge of the drive-through.
So why wouldn't you just reproduce what works so well? Why wouldn't you just do more drive-throughs?
It's very difficult to find that real estate right now.
Yeah, is that the problem?
I didn't hear what you
The
said.
difficulty of finding the real estate?
Well, there's a couple of things there. A, it's difficulty finding the real estate. B, the build out there. So your startup costs for typical is you're looking at anywhere between $600,000 to $750,000 for build out, for acquiring the space. Our lower volume stores, we're able to get in for very little.
Jonathan, we have about 150 co-working spaces between our 2 brands, and coffee is a big challenge. To really get everybody on the same page.
Right.
How many different types of coffee do you offer?
So we have 5 different blends. Our Kara Kawa, Kara is night in Kinyarwanda. That is our darker blend. That's going to be most akin to what you get at a Starbucks. And we have our medium blends, then we have a light roast. Everything is roasted fresh. So what our franchisees serve today was roasted last week and shipped.
It's amazing. Let me just echo what my friends here have said. What you've done, I love the mission. The mission's great. I'd like to get an idea, because I have a little bit of experience here. I'm a multi-unit operator of a retail drive-through chain. Very difficult to find drive-throughs. Very difficult to get anywhere near $1 million in revenue per unit unless you have a drive-through. So is your growth plan really just to have these $250,000, $300,000-$400,000 coffee shops strategically placed and to spread the mission? Or do you want to open up drive-throughs and go for $2 million stores? Because that's a tough terrain.
Yeah, we're thus far the opportunities we're being faced with are not the drive-throughs, not the $2 million stores. I can open up a store and show you how to do $500,000, $750,000 in revenue day after day after day. So I think the primary focus will be that $500,000 to $750,000. We'll have the 1.2 to 2 million ones out there, but mind you, those higher revenue stores have a much larger dip, and you have to have a franchisee ready to supplement that until you reach breakpoint. $500,000, $750,000 a year store, you're at breakpoint within 4 to 6 months.
And so for the additional 10 units you mentioned having sold but not open, how did you recruit those folks?
The remaining units we're corporate owned.
Okay.
So we have 11 units open now. 3 are sold to franchisees. The other 8 are corporate owned. And then we have 10 more units in the pipeline. We've not identified franchisees for it yet. So this is part of our opportunity is.
So, it would be great to hear about your franchise development efforts. And it seems like your model is a little bit unique in that you're going out and building locations first and then finding a franchisee.
Yeah, so our current franchisees have found us. They've called us. They've said, hey, we like what you're doing. We would like to do it. We bring them in. I spend a lot of time coaching and growing them up. We've just started working with Thomas Scott and Brand Journalists to build the pipeline, and we have a brokerage firm that's in stream now, and they're saying they think they'll have 12 within the next 12 months. That is a little daunting based on the way we've slowly grown the franchisees to this point.
How big is a store? How many square feet?
Our largest is 3,000 square feet. Our smallest is 1,100 square feet.
And what else are you selling in the store besides coffee?
So the larger stores, we do coffee, we do pastries, we do sandwiches. Most of our new stores, we're doing an alcohol component in the afternoon. That's why we call it a coffee and social. We're having a lot going into multifamily developments that have retail on the ground floor, where we are the place. We become the clubhouse for everybody in the area, as well as the residents. Light food, alcohol, coffee to start your day.
And so you talked about the 10 units in your pipeline that I guess right now are corporate units. Once you do all the work to open them up, why would you then turn around and franchise that unit?
It is very hard to manage a store at a distance. Our Atlanta stores we can manage quite easily. We have a store in Dallas. If there's a problem with management, that takes quite a bit. We are setting up a model of growing 3, but if we can find the right franchisees, then it's their baby. The franchisee does not need to be managed. They need to be coached. They're willing. They need to learn to become able. But my experience, my current 3 franchisees is they're motivated. You know, they're let me in coach, and I'm providing the resource.
So you're building the unit, handing them the keys, and they're paying you back for the entire unit, or is there some shared?
Correct. They will purchase the unit, so they'll pay a franchise fee. Right now our model is twofold. You can pay the franchise fee, go build your own unit. We reserve the right to approve where you want to go. Where I see a lot of growth is as we develop it, we open it, and then you can purchase the unit as an existing store and pay the franchise fee.
Is there an online component to your coffee sales?
We do have a B2C business, which continues to grow. We have about 400 churches that purchase our coffee online. There's a lot of synergy between people seeing our coffee in their apartment complex, seeing our coffee in their place of worship, seeing our coffee in the workplace, and then they'll say, hey, I went to your shop in Roswell. I would like to open a store. Tell me how we do that.
Jonathan, I'm developing 3 multifamily apartment buildings right now.
Yeah.
I love the idea of having a mission-driven unit in my apartment building because I like to do good things, right?
Yeah.
Make money, do good. What gets better than that?
Yeah.
I'm just scaling in my mind, right? I'm putting myself in your shoes. I'm scaling in my mind a $500,000, 15%-ish, $75,000 net income. Do you believe that model is scalable? And I happen to have some experience in this too, because I also have Smoothie King stores, right? So if I'm at 500,000 in a Smoothie King, very similar margins, very similar business actually in a lot of ways. If there's no drive-through, I'm capped at 500,000, and I look at that unit like, man, I got to close it and open up a drive-through, right? You have a mission concept here, right? Are you comfortable scaling your brand to, let's call it what you want to scale, to hundreds of units at 500,000, making 75,000 a year?
Yes, but it is a different franchisee.
Okay.
You know, that franchisee they want to make it their own. They want to build community. Also, typically that $500,000 unit has a much lower OpEx than the 1.5.
So maybe you can make 100,000,
Yeah.
but they're mission-driven owners.
Right.
Fair enough.
I
Fair
love
enough.
the mission. I'm confused by the model. I don't. Is it large? Are you giving them a choice of all of these different things? Because if you have an earnings claim in your franchise disclosure document, and you're taking in consideration a 1.2 million drive-through, but then you're not going to open up any more drive-throughs,
Right.
I see that as a problem. I don't. Are you giving them too much freedom to make their own choice about what's going to make them successful, or are you the franchisor that's going to say, this is what you have to do? Because I'm hearing a whole bunch of different things, and I don't hear that this is our program.
And you're hearing correctly. And I think if I respond to that, it sounds like your wisdom would be maybe there's 3 tiers. And as you come into the program, you know, this is the top tier, this is the investment, this is the franchise fee. This is the lower tier. You know, if you'd like a 800 square foot unit that's strictly coffee, OpEx, is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah, I think that, if you had a couple of choices, like for people that owned a building, or co-working outfits that wanted to add coffee into it or something like that, and then you had your higher end that this was the drive-through, and maybe that you offered both, or I don't know. I don't have the answer
kind
here,
of a
but I'm trying to
franchise,
still figure out what you have.
Yeah.
Well, what Ray's hitting on is what I'm hitting on. If your goal is to open up a bunch of $500,000 units with mission-driven people that, I'm not going to say don't care about profit, but profit is secondary, that's one thing. I like going after that. Like, let's say you contact me, I'm building 3 apartment buildings. Sure. I'm not looking to make money out of that coffee shop.
It's an amenity for your
I'm making
residents,
money in the apartments.
Yep.
However, I think as you're building it, not having the opportunity to attract franchisees that want $1 million or $2 million unit. There's a bevy of coffee brands out there that are going after Starbucks now that have drive-throughs They're doing almost kiosk drive-throughs. Some of them doing 3, 4, 5, 6 million, no mission, all profit, right? So I just think if you're not exploiting that very profitable market, I think you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
So we're on franchise hot seat. How much capacity do you have in your current roastery and your operations?
So we could currently increase 30-fold.
Oh,
right
wow.
now.
Our panel is struggling with this concept. They love the mission, but they're missing some pieces. Sherri's diplomatic as always. Ray jumps right in, boils it down to one word: focus. John agrees, but he's ready to get into the coffee business. Watch this.
So, in the spirit of the franchise model, which is a repeatable, what makes franchising is it's a repeatable process that you can depend on. It sounds like you've got a lot of different directions that maybe would be nice to sort of consolidate those and
To bottle
so that we're
and,
able
and
to,
model, yeah.
you know, so we're able to understand that a little better. For sure.
I think what she's saying really nicely is that you need to focus. Okay, you gotta get this to a point where here's the program, and you can make money several different ways. But man, I gotta understand if you're here and I'm having such a hard time figuring out what this is. I know it's coffee, and I know it smells great, and I love the mission. It's just I'm not there yet. I don't know if you are, John.
Now, you led beautifully with your mission and beautifully with how you create this incredible coffee, which, by the way, I opened and smelled. It smells
amazing.
Really good.
Amazing.
And I know the product's great, and I know your mission is great, but I think if you get the business side of this thing a little more focused and really understand what those unit economics look at 500 and what they look like at 1.2, 1.5, I'll tell you right now, at 1.5 to 2, they really look good. But at 500K, I just know what they are because, again, I operate in this business. I'm in the beverage business. At 500K, you better have a mission-driven customer because he's not going to be a profit guy.
I think that 500K scenario may be, again, having co-working sites where maybe you don't have the full expense of the retail outlet or the, all the employees and all the other things. But if you could get to 300,000 to 500,000 out of an apartment building or a co-working site where maybe you don't have the same expense side as you would with a retail.
I like I said, I like it. I'll give you my card after we're done for my apartment buildings. I like it. I just think that while you're doing this, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, not going for the
high end. The high end, yeah. You have a product that doesn't necessarily limit itself to one specific area, and in like a lot of our businesses, you can only put one in this geographical area. But if his apartment building was 2 blocks from my co-working space, we could both have it. And so do you have any thoughts of having a geographical territory for a franchisee where they could have unlimited ability to put it in a church, put it in here, and they pay off the territory rather than the location?
Like a route?
Yeah,
almost like a route.
Like a route, and they run it, but they pay
Yeah.
off of their one geographical territory, because we would only be putting one in that area anyway. But if they had the capacity to go into the church, into the co-working site, into the apartment building, and really nobody has exclusive, you're able to do that as a franchisee. Maybe you could have 4 or 5 in a geographical territory that would be popping out 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 each.
And it would be like almost like kiosks, which would bring that number down even more, that CapEx number, and allow it to be closer to each other. Or a church is not going to be a $500,000 store, but a kiosk in a church with a deal with the church could, you could get it to break even and just spread the spread the word, spread the mission, so to speak.
Our heads are swimming up here with all the information that you've shared with us. So just to wrap up here, guys, let's tell them what we think.
I'm hot on this concept. Congrats on building a really amazing business, and I do think it's clear that You've got a ton of opportunity in a lot of different directions that you can go into, but even focusing on one or two of those directions has a bright future ahead of it. So good luck.
I too am hot on the concept. I think you need some structure, some strategic planning that you need to do that we've discussed. I especially love the mission, and I really like what you're doing here, and the kiosk concept, and I think you have a lot of upside, but I would just caution you, stay focused. I know it's a mission brand. I know some people are going to get into it not for the money. Your plan should be, we need unit economics to be positive and make money, and still you'll get people in on the mission.
I'm torn. I'm kind of in between here, because on one side I love the mission. The products really, it looks and smells great. We need more people like you that are doing things out there that are making the world a better place. So on one side I love, on the other side, you have to get focused. You have to get, here's my program, here's what I'm offering, this or that, and here's what it's all about. I don't hear that, okay? And I think you're floundering with that focus side. So if I'd say I'm medium hot on it, and but overall I think you did a great job here.
Great, thank you.
Well, it's a little disparaging opinions there, and I'm on Ray's side here with this one. I think I love the humanitarian side of it, love the product, and obviously very popular, and the market potential is unlimited, but some focus and some decisions of, core branding. What does a unit look like? Because if you want to think about potential franchisees and who you're going to attract, you're going to need to have that locked up so that they know what they're investing in. Right now you've kind of got a squiggly line, I think, that you can pretty much, you're telling the franchisee, you can kind of have whatever you want. We'll make that happen, and that's really not a successful franchise model.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining the Franchise Hot Seat.
Went great, received a lot of wonderful input. My takeaways are twofold. One, to narrow our offering to be able to bottle and model it, so to speak, where we can say to our franchisees, this is what a Land of a Thousand Hills Coffee and Social looks like. And more likely than not, it's going to be 3 tiers. One tier is our higher revenue unit. At the other end of the spectrum is a smaller tier, which has less revenue but less capital investment. And third, which was very innovative that the team came up with, is a territory where perhaps a franchisee duplicates what we've done in Atlanta, where there are several sources of income, whether it be kiosk in multifamily development areas, whether it be a kiosk in a mall, selling to churches, selling to houses of worship, and maybe even grind brew machines. So all in all, very good.
Thanks for joining us for the Franchise Hot Seat. And remember, our purpose is to inform and educate. We are not selling franchises. Do your homework before investing in any business. Franchising is a powerful methodology for business ownership, and it may be the best way for you to own a business and build personal wealth. But franchising is not without risk, and it's not for everyone. Some quick thank yous to our sponsors. Transworld Business Advisors is the world leader in the marketing and sales of businesses, franchises, and mergers and acquisitions. They've got 240 offices worldwide. Accurate Franchising is a full-service consulting and development agency that helps franchise companies develop their brands and then expand via franchise sales. Crank Enterprises is a venture marketing company introducing a modern-day twist to private equity. Their mission, turn ideas into dough. You want to sit in the Franchise Hot Seat, or do you have a question for the Titus Center? Contact me at tituscenter.com. I'm John Hayes, leading the Titus Center for Franchising, where we're educating the next franchise generation.